Are you there? I want to make sure we've got Michelle. I can't tell. Can you see me? Let's see. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to do something. Figuring out what's going on with the tech over here. Second, bear with me here. And I'm not seeing comments on Facebook either, so I'm not really sure. All right, well, I'm going to get going here. Hopefully Michelle can jump on. Okay. Let's make sure I'm actually recording. Did I push the record button? No. Oh, distractions. Okay, perfect. Okay, so the 5 kind of biggest detriments: not eating enough, working out too much, underestimating the importance of water, not getting enough sleep, and thinking too big in terms of your weight loss goals. Okay, so not eating enough. I've talked about this before, and I'll say it till I'm blue in the face. The quickest way for fat loss is definitely not slashing your calories. And I know that we've kind of been ingrained with this diet culture that, you know, you eat less and you move more. But when you slash your calories, your metabolism will slow down to adjust to that. And when you're doing that, it puts it into stress. Actually, under eating puts our body into a state of stress. And when it's doing that, it automatically puts on fat storage mode, because that's one of the ways that we protect ourselves, is we have more fat for energy later, for all sorts of reasons. So slashing our calories negatively impacts our metabolism. And here's the thing about slashing our calories, okay? When we slash our calories, initially, a lot of us will or might see progress, right? You slash your calories down to, I don't know, 1,200, 1,500, or even less, which please don't ever do that. And you see this drop in weight and you feel really good about that. The scale goes down and then all of a sudden we plateau, right? So you're like, whoop, fat loss, and then plateau, right? This happens to a lot of us. It's happened to most of us, especially if you are a yo-yo dieter. Okay? You slash your calories, you see results, and then you plateau. And then you think, well, okay, the script is working by slashing calories. So then what are you going to do? Slash again to see, like, to boost more. Like, at some point, this is going to fail, right? We can't just keep slashing calories to make the scale move. There are better ways. This is not sustainable to not eat enough all of the time. And we're also, when we're slashing our calories, even if we are losing weight, do you know where that weight is mostly coming from? Muscle, right? We've talked about in some of our previous talks that muscle is very expensive to maintain, right? So when we slash our calories, okay, we're slowing down our metabolism and we're losing muscles. Yeah, it's on the Facebook post. I don't have it here. Hold on, I'm going to try to tag Michelle. Get it on there. Hold on, Michelle. Here we go. Let's tag Michelle here. Okay, so when you slash these and you're excited that you're seeing the scale move, first of all, that you hit plateaus, and then we start paring down our muscle. All right, so it's not a sustainable way to do. So when I slash our calories and we're not eating enough, you can see the scale move, and then you plateau. And then what are you going to do, right? If you start eating more, then you're going to start putting the weight back on, right? Or you're going to have to slash some more. And at what point is slashing, like, are you going to stop, right? You're going to be eating nothing at some point. Like, that doesn't make any sense for us to, it's not a sustainable way to go. So one thing that we do when we want to start losing fat, we have this idea that we're going to slash our calories and we're going to move more. And this is so counterproductive. When we start eating that little amount, our body adjusts. That's metabolic adaptation. It's designed to do that, to keep you alive. So if you're not eating enough, your metabolism slows down and it starts taking away from your muscle, which is just kind of this terrible cycle because your muscle is the thing that ramps up your metabolism, your resting metabolism, right? So you're taking away from your resting metabolism, which means you're losing more calories on average, or you're expending less calories on average because now your resting metabolism's lower. Like, it's a mess. Okay, so please resist the urge to just slash your calories. It's not a sustainable way to go. Right. And so instead you need to eat more, right? You need to eat more, but eat more of the good stuff. And I cannot emphasize enough how important it is to prioritize protein. Protein is filling. It is the building block of all of our cells. It helps restore and repair any damage. It revs our metabolism. It's got the highest thermic effect. Okay, protein, what does that mean? It means it takes the most energy for our body to digest. Right. So even just the act of digesting your proteins and breaking those down into all of the amino acids in there is it's more it expends more energy for our body to do that. Right. So you eat more protein, you get full, you feel satisfied, and your body is working harder to digest that. Like, this is all a win-win. Right. So when you're trying to go on a diet, the first thing you need to do is prioritize or at least when you're trying to go after fat loss, you need to prioritize your protein. Okay. The other thing is that it's not eating enough, and this, so I don't want anybody to think, well, Amber says I need to eat more, so I'm going to go out and eat whatever the heck I want, because that's not what I'm saying. Typically, we're not eating enough of the good things, the whole foods, and we're relying too much on processed junk, right? We need to switch our diets from mostly processed to mostly whole. Right now, it's typically about 80-20 for people, 80% processed, 20% whole. We need to flip that and do 80% whole, 20% like processed, right? If you can just rely more on like the whole natural foods and prioritize your protein, you'll see so many changes in your body. And this includes diet foods. Diet foods are the worst. Gosh, please, if they're touting themselves as quick fat loss or metabolic, this is the pill to make your metabolism rev up or what have you, they're typically just, I call them chemical shitstorms. Okay? They're full of junk, right? So, and I mean, I'm guilty too, right? Like the weight loss bars or the protein bars or you have to be very, very careful about a lot of these things. Like, so here's three, I just chose them. I chose this Slim Fast because everybody knows Slim Fast, right? This is like this leading weight loss thing. Just take a look at the like ingredient list of Slim Fast. Like, wow, it's a bit rough, right? The first ingredient is sugar, right? So they're just giving you sugar, and then maltodextrin. So you've got cocoa, and then maltodextrin is sugar. And then you've got sunflower oil, which is one of those bad oils that it creates inflammation in our body. So that's no good, right? You've got cellulose gel, milk protein concentrate, and then soy fiber. Xanthan gum is just one of those additives for shelf life. It's just like, look, there's dextrose. It's a chemical shitstorm. Okay. Pure protein bars. If you go through and read, there's sugar, and then there's the maltol is a alcohol sugar, and there's just all sorts of crap in these things, and they're being touted as healthy for us, and they're just nothing can compare to ingesting whole foods. I chose this Robert Irvine's Fit Crunch bar because I recently saw this at Costco, and I was really interested because Robert Irvine is a pretty famous chef. He's this like celebrity chef, and he's also ripped, right? Really fit guy. So he's kind of both worlds, right? He's a famous chef and also very, very like fit guy, so best of both worlds there. So I thought, well, maybe he had come up with something that was a good alternative for like grab and go. I know that we're all busy and we'd like to have options for grab and go, but then I take a look at the ingredient list and it's so disappointing. It's just crap after crap after crap. You've got vegetable glycerin in there, which is actually typically used for like a face moisturizer. Like, what are we doing? It can cause things like uncomfortable gas and diarrhea. It's not good. Vegetable oils in there, sugar, some more sorbitol, which is an alcohol sugar. Like, it's crap, right? So my recommendation though is when you're trying to rev fat loss, please say no to the diet foods. They are not doing you any favors. No, don't do it. And if you are trying to find a good, like a protein bar, pay very close attention to those ingredients because they like to tout themselves as healthy and they're not. They're just, it's crap. It's crap. Don't do it. And then working out. So this is problem number 2. And it aligns with the idea that we feel like if to lose fat, we have to eat less and move for more. And I'm here to tell you that that's not true. That's just not true. You can work out too much. Overtraining is 100% a thing. It is absolutely detrimental to fat loss progress if we overtrain. Right? You can overtrain in a few different ways. You can overtrain by like overtraining cardio. Well, cardio turns us into fat storage machines. We have 3 different types of energy systems that fuel different types of activity. Okay? The thing that fuels our endurance is fat. So when you do cardio all the time, your body adapts really, really fast. And it, in fact, it only takes about 2 weeks, 2 weeks, you guys, for your body to adapt to cardio, which means it recognizes that you have a lot of endurance going on. And so it intentionally stores fat. And you might think, well, if I have fat storage, it's going to delve into my fat stores. That's not how it works at all. That's not how it works. And this goes hands in hands with, like slashing your calories and then adding cardio. Like these are the 2 biggest things that most people do. They slash their calories and they start running on the treadmill, right? Well, they're both working against fat loss. Slashing your calories, you're going to create metabolic adaptation, slow down your metabolism, and eat at your muscle. And then turning up the cardio doesn't require a whole lot of muscle mass, so it pares down muscle too. So it's kind of a 1-2 punch against your muscle. You're not feeding yourself to keep the muscle, and you're doing an activity that doesn't require muscle, and muscle is very expensive to maintain. So it starts paring down your muscle, right? And when you pare down your muscle, that lowers your resting metabolic rate. So now you're impacting your metabolism even more. It's just this terrible cycle that we put ourselves in. So too much cardio is not good for fat loss. Okay, it turns us into fat storage machines and not fat. And this is another thing you see when you slash your calories and start cardio. And some of us might see like, oh, fat loss, like an accelerated fat loss for maybe a month. And then we hit that plateau and we're like, I don't understand. I'm doing an hour of cardio every day and I'm only eating 1,200 calories and I've hit a plateau already, but I know I have weight to lose. Right? This is what our body is adapting, and that's what it's supposed to do. So it says, well, I'm doing a lot on a little. So I slow down and I become more efficient at running, right? And this is one of those things that you have to be very careful with the amount of faith you put into like calorie counters on a treadmill. Our body adapts to cardio fairly quickly. So you can like start running, right? Let's say you run 300 or 3 miles, right? And then in the treadmill tells you that you burnt 300 calories. Okay. And then you consistently start running 3 miles every day on the treadmill, and every day it's telling you burn 300 calories. Well, that's not accurate. What's going on is, like I said, it's about 2 weeks that our body starts adapting to cardio. So what happens is when you consistently run and run and run, your body, it becomes more efficient at it. And that 300 calories that you were burning in that 3 miles is now less, right? Now we're maybe at 270, and then we'll get down to 250, right? You're burning fewer and fewer calories doing the exact same movements because our body is adapting as it should, okay? So overtraining is a problem. It's the same for lifting, right? You have to be careful with heavy lifting, with resistance training. You can overly stress and injure your body. You need proper recovery, proper repair. And so here's the way that our body changes is that it responds to stressors. Okay, so you stress it out in some way, right? That could be, running for a long time, or that could be lifting, like resistance training. Okay, you provide a stress or stimulus to your body, and your body responds by adapting to that stressor so that you're better with that stressor next time. But it has to do that kind of in 2 stages. The first one is that it has to repair any of the damage created in the first place, right? So like when you lift heavy and you get sore and you're tearing, making little tears in your muscle tissue, which is totally normal. That's what you want to do. You want to provide a safe stress, which is what that's doing, okay? And then once it does the repair, then it goes into rebuild, right? And this is where we start seeing body changes. So the first stage is just repair, make everything better, and then we're going to get stronger, okay? But here's the problem. If you overtrain, if you overlift, our body is in a constant state of repair. If you don't give it enough time to repair and recover, it can't ever move into the rebuild stage, okay? And I heard a great analogy about kind of how our body adapts with like sun tanning, Okay, so if you say you go out into the sun and you go out to the sun like 10 minutes today, and then you come out of it, and then you go 10 minutes tomorrow, go out of it, and then you next day maybe you can go up 15 minutes, right? And what is our body doing as we're exposing ourselves to the sun? A little bit at a time. You expose a little bit at a time, we create a tan. Our body is adapting to deal with the stressor of the sun, right? So it's doing this like adaptation, and then we slowly are able to tolerate more and more sun, right? That's what our bodies do. Well, think about if you were to just go out into the sun on day one and spend hours in the sun without any protection. What happens is our body burns. There's no tan, we burn. And then our body spends all that time trying to repair the damage from the sun because we didn't slowly work ourselves up to it. That's exactly like exercise. Okay? If you are overlifting or overworking and you're not allowing the time to repair and recover and to allow your body to adapt, like building a tan base, right? You're basically just burning your body, and your body's always trying to repair and recover. It never can rebuild. And so you don't see a whole lot of changes, right? This is what happens when you run too much. This is what happens when you lift too much, when you're not allowing your body to repair and recover. You're not allowing your body the time it needs to adapt. Okay, so we have the stressors. We need to give ourselves, our bodies time to respond to those stressors and then let them adapt. Okay, so this is like strength training. You don't have to strength train every single day of the week. In fact, you shouldn't, because when you strength train, you're exposing your body to a stressor. So if you strength train 2 times a week, you're doing your body so much good. So you could strength train, give yourself some rest, and then strength train a couple days later, give yourself some rest, right? And when you're doing you can do active rest in between, maybe you go on walks or what, it doesn't have to be life consuming, right? And I think that we get this idea, well, I need to go. No, you don't. Actually, that's so counterproductive. You don't have to be this gym. You don't have to live at the gym. Right? You don't have to always be thinking about the next workout. So be careful. Don't overwork yourself. Don't walk into the sun without protection. All right, work your way into it and give your body the ability to repair and recover. Okay, underestimating the importance of water. We need water. Water is 100% necessary for fat loss. Okay, the very first step of trying to remove fat from our body, when we're trying to burn fat, what does that mean? We need water to interact with the molecules. If we don't have water, our body can't lose fat. It's the very first step in fat metabolism. It's called lipolysis. Lipolysis is fat metabolism. The very first step of that is hydrolysis. And that's when water molecules interact with the fat molecules to try to get them out. So if you are dehydrated or if you're not drinking enough water, your body physically can't even lose the fat. You've got to drink the water. Okay, the other thing is it really helps with, it's a lubricant for our joints. So if you're experiencing a lot of joint pain, maybe take a look at your water intake. Okay? It helps, it increases our energy levels. It's a mood stabilizer. Water is important for regulating hormones. Right? When we're dehydrated, we can get really cranky, or we can get emotional, right? We have a harder time dealing with stress. Okay? Water is a natural appetite suppressant as well. So it impacts our hunger cues. If we're dehydrated, sometimes we mistake that as just being hungry, and we're not hungry, we're dehydrated. And it seems a little bit counterintuitive, but if you drink water, you can reduce your water retention, right? Sometimes you're like, gosh, I'm just so bloated. Well, you need water. What your body does is when it doesn't get sufficient amounts of water, it holds on to liquid just in case, just in preparation, because it seems like maybe we're in a drought. We're not getting enough. So it holds on to all it can get. If you drink a sufficient amount of water, it will feel okay letting go. Right. So you might if you go from being dehydrated or being, if you're not drinking enough water and you transition into drinking a lot of water, you might go through a stage where you do feel a little bit of bloat. That is totally normal. That's your body saying, I'm just holding on to the water because I'm not used to having enough. Okay? And then once your body adjusts to getting enough, it will release the water, and there'll be maybe a week where you're peeing all the time, which is totally normal. Okay? But we need water. We need water to lose fat. It helps with our mood stabilization, which can help with making better choices when we're feeling stress. Right? It helps us respond to stress better, and it aids in digestion and can help with constipation. Right? So please drinking your water. It like the general guideline is to drink about half your body weight in ounces per day. That's just a general guideline. I say get at least 50 ounces a day. Most people are not drinking just enough plain water. So I think that's a good round number to start with. I think I don't track as well as I used to, but I'm drinking at least about 100 ounces a day these days. Which is really, it's not too terrible to do. Like you get up and you drink a glass, and then you can have your coffee, or maybe you have, and then you can have some with lunch, or just kind of have water every time you're going to drink something else. Pick up water too, right? So you can kind of pair those habits together so that you make sure you're getting enough hydration. Okay. We live in a society where we have an abundance of drinks to choose from. And instead of drinking water, we can choose all these other things that stimulate us in other ways, right? So we've got our energy drinks, or juices, or sodas, or frappuccinos, or coffees. So I didn't put down this last one here is a vanilla latte. So I just looked at the stats for these today about the kind of the common things that we grab when we're feeling thirsty, or try to get pick-me-ups during the day. The interesting thing is that we have natural energy boosts if we drink enough water. So those like crashes that we're having in the afternoon where we're grabbing for Cokes or we're grabbing for coffees, we could help avoid those if we were just staying hydrated in the first place. The irony. So yeah, so like look at a 12-ounce Red Bull where it's 160 calories, but it's 39 grams of sugar. It's crazy, right? Here, 12-ounce apple juice, 39 grams of sugar and 170 calories. Like, instead of drinking, well, I always have water with me, this beautiful substance that helps improve everything about our bodies, we grab for stuff like this, which are just loaded with sugars. And I'm like, I used to, and here's the other thing is that I don't think we're sometimes aware about how much we consume in drinks alone in terms of like sugar intake and calories. It's really, really easy to let this get out of control. I used to, before I started making changes to my nutrition, I used to have upwards of 3 caramel sauce lattes a day. I always had one. I always had one in the morning when I left for work. Okay. And then I would sometimes leave work midday to get one because I was tired. And then I would get one on my way home. So that's upwards of 3 caramel sauce lattes a day. And I was not even remotely aware what I was intaking through that liquid. Right? I think it's easy to forget that these fluids have a lot of impact on our bodies, right? And I think I wrote it down somewhere because I was curious. So 1 caramel sauce latte, and I had upwards of 3 a day, every day, is 310 calories, which is okay. So that's what, 930 calories a day in just a caramel sauce latte. But more shockingly is there's 42 grams of sugar. 42 in one of those, right? So times that by 3, what is that? 126 grams of sugar in my caramel sauce lattes a day. And it's just a little bit mind-blowing. And I had no idea, right? I think we're just not always aware of what we're putting in our body. So just, if you are like a soda drinker, for example, if you know that you're one to grab Coke, so here's what I would recommend. If you drink several sodas a day, right? Maybe start by replacing some of those with water, right? I think asking people to go from zero to 60, or rather from a lot to none in one fell swoop is a lot to ask. There's a lot of psychology behind habit change or changing habits. And I think that it's not necessarily realistic for us to cut it all out in one fell swoop. And so if you could just start making subtle changes, like swapping out a couple of your sodas for water, or having one sugar coffee a day as opposed to the 3, right? So, like just trying to dial back a little bit in these habits. And the other problems like these stack, right? Like, are you having a Red Bull and also a Coke and also a juice and also a vanilla latte all in one day, right? We're just inundating and drinking our calories and not even noticing the impact because it's easy to do, right? Easy to overdrink your calories. Undersleeping. Oh my goodness. I know that we live in a busy world and it's really, really tough for us to get adequate sleep. I get it. I'm a parent. I'm a busy working mom. I understand. But I didn't realize how important sleep was when it came to fat loss. Our bodies respond to lack of sleep as yet another stressor. Okay, so it responds in the same way as it does when we hear loud noises, or if we get in a fight with somebody and we're stressed out about that, or if we're stressed out about work, or if we work out really hard, or if we take a long run, or if we reduce our sleep. Our body is responding with this stress, the same kind of stress response, and you get spikes in cortisol. And what that does is it indicates to our body that it's time to store energy. Okay, we need to keep this person going during the waking hours, and so store. Okay, so when you are lacking sleep, you are inadvertently changing your body to be in fat storage mode because fat is safety. Okay? It's storage for later. Okay? It's something that our body has naturally evolved to hold on to in times of stress so that we are prepared for later. Okay? Sleep deprivation, it impacts insulin sensitivity. So what that means is that we have a lot more difficulty processing sugars. And if our body can't process the sugars very well, they are then end up stored as fat. Okay, so it's kind of this double whammy where we are storing more energy so that we have energy for later because our body is responding to the stressor of lack of sleep. We can't process our sugars very well anymore, so they're being converted to fat. We're also, when we're undersleeping, we're naturally just more tired. So our non-exercise activity throughout the day slows down. Our body has ways of slowing down processes within our own body so that we're not using as much energy, right? So it's just like, turns out sleeping is a really important part of fat loss. Our body needs to sleep in order to even let go, right? And part of that, I mean, it makes sense because our body isn't going to want to let go of the fat until it feels safe. And it doesn't feel safe when it's not well rested. And this is the other thing is that like you can train all day, right? You could lift all day, but our muscles recover and repair, and then they start the growth process in our sleep. So if we're not allowing that sleep to happen, we're not giving our muscles the ability to recover and then repair, right? And then remember how it's recover, repair, and then we can start building, okay? It doesn't ever get there. It doesn't ever get to the build phase. So that's like, it can be super frustrating. We're like, I'm putting in all of this time to reshape my body and nothing's happening, right? And I ask my clients all the time, how's your sleep? Are you getting enough? Are you feeling well rested? Okay, like that plays a big role in your journey for fat loss. So, and we're like, well, I got up, I got 4 hours last night, but I had to get up and I had to get my cardio in or something like that. Like that's so counterproductive. It truly is. There are some days where you just have to choose to let your body recover and stay in bed, right? Stay in bed, get some sleep, or start putting together like a nightly ritual so that you're going to bed a little bit earlier, right? Or getting to bed a little bit quicker, right? There are absolutely like things that we can do to help our bodies get better rest and sleep more deeply as well. So these are really important, especially if we're trying to promote change in our body. We have to get sleep. Our body needs rest. It is very hard work very hard work to lose weight, right? So let your body recover. This is the big one. This is the tough one. Sometimes we just go into it thinking too big, right? So you wake up and you're like, I'm going to do it. This is it. This is the time. I'm going to exercise every day. I'm going to cook everything at home, and I'm going to drink more water, and I'm going to get more sleep, and I'm going to cut out my sodas. That is so, what a great thought. Lovely. It's a great plan. It's just not very practical, right? If this is requiring a complete overhaul of your life. And that's just not reasonable to think that we can just wake up and have everything be different. Okay? So instead, think a little bit smaller. Like little changes over time can make a huge impact. So identify one of your biggest downfalls and start creating habits around that. Say it's sodas. Okay, all right, so I drink 4 sodas a day. I'm going to start this week by cutting it down to 3. Next week, I'm going to cut it down to 2, and I'm going to add in more water. Okay, the following week, I'll cut it down to 1, and I'll add in more water, right? And maybe you stay at 1 for a while. Maybe you allow yourself 1 soda, but just the act of cutting it back, right? Focusing on just the sodas alone will provide a lot of benefit for your body. And then once you're comfortable with the fact that you're like better with your water and you're better with your soda intake, right? Maybe then you start thinking, okay, I eat out 3 days a week. I'm going to start eating out only 2 days a week, right? These little changes, and I know that we all want to see dramatic results instantly. We're a society of instant gratification, but instant gratification isn't sustainable. And the whole point here is to get to a place where you have sustainable weight loss, where you feel satisfied and happy in your life and in the way that your body is performing and looking and all that fun jazz. And the only way to do that is to make it sustainable, okay? I think this is also one where, right, we have this like all or nothing mentality a lot of the times. Like I have to do this perfectly, or I failed somehow. I think there's one more. Yeah, perfect. There's deep psychology to losing weight, and I am in the process of putting together a presentation around. I know somebody had asked on our sugar one. I'm not sure, maybe metabolism, about like how do we start making these changes when we are doing things like impulse eating. There's deep psychology to losing weight, and I really want that presentation to be done very, very well. So I'm working on that presentation for all of you to talk about the psychology of weight loss and sustainable life changes. But some things to consider is that it is not all or nothing, and it's not a perfect journey. So stop pressuring yourself to be perfect every step of the way. Okay? I say it all the time. You just need to choose better most of the time. Okay? And don't beat yourself up if maybe you miss a workout. La-ti-da, right? Maybe you had a soda. Okay, move on. Make a better choice next time, right? It's not an all or nothing. It's not a perfect journey. And allow yourself that room to grow. Okay. And trust be kind to yourself along the way, and trust your body. Our bodies are so much smarter than we give them credit for. So if you are feeding yourself well and you are trying to do good by your body, give it the time it needs to adapt. Okay, I heard a quote once, and I can't even remember where I heard it, but it stuck with me so hard because it's very powerful. Attach yourself to the intention. Okay? Attach yourself to the intention, not the outcome. Why? Because if our outcome is weight loss, the second we're not seeing the scale move, or maybe it goes up, or something goes astray, we feel defeated, right? It's a mind game. We feel like we've failed, okay? But if you focus on the intention of being healthy and not necessarily the outcome, if you are trying to make better choices, if you are attaching yourself to the intent of drinking more water and the intent of eating more whole foods, as long as your focus is there, your health will follow, right? If you focus your time and attention on the intent of being healthy, the outcome will come. You just have to give it the time, right? So I say this to myself all the time, especially when things don't seem to be going the way I want them to. Amber, focus on the intent. Okay? What is your intent right now? Okay? Focus on that. Don't focus on the outcome, because the outcome is far too variable. Okay? And we feel defeated if we're not getting the outcome that we want immediately. This one also, don't fear success. So I know we talk a lot about fearing failure, but every single one of us knows what failure feels like. I don't necessarily think that we fear failure because that's just a part of life, right? Failure, we fail and then we learn and we get up and we move forward. Like, you have to fail in life. But I don't necessarily think that all of us have thought about what's going to happen if we're successful. I think there's a lot of fear of the unknown there. If you've never been successful in your weight loss journey, then there is fear surrounding the end result. What happens when you do lose the weight, right? That can be a little bit scary. Okay, so don't fear that. Okay? If you go through this process and you're losing weight in the right way, in a sustainable way, right, then, and you reach success, then you're going to feel so good because it's sustainable, right? Instead of doing it by slashing calories and maybe doing more cardio, and then all of a sudden you plateau and then you start gaining weight, right? Like, it's just like, whew. So don't fear the success of the journey. Okay, I know that that's an unknown, and unknowns can be really, really scary, but man, is it worth it to get there and be able to say I succeeded. And I did it in a sustainable way, and I feel good about it, and I know this is something that I can maintain. And then this is, don't play the comparison game. I fall into this trap all of the time. It is hard not to in the society that we live in, where we're constantly being barraged with images here and social media there and all of the things. You are your own journey. Okay, I did this when I started this whole journey with my husband. And I was super pissed, actually, because we both started this. We started eating better. We switched to unprocessed whole foods. We started cooking at home. Like, we made this deal together, and he lost weight almost immediately and I didn't. It took me almost 2 months at least for me to start seeing the changes. I felt changes, like I was feeling better, but I didn't see the changes, and he was visibly losing weight. And it just took the joy out of that part of the journey for me, because I was constantly comparing, well, he's down 20 pounds and I haven't moved. Why? Well, very different people, very different bodies, very different histories, very different metabolisms. Okay? We cannot play the comparison game. You have your own journey ahead of you. Your body is unique, and you have to attach yourself to the intent, make better choices most of the time, and trust that your body is going to follow along. Okay, I think that's everything, right? So I'll go back to the beginning. So make sure that you're eating enough of the good stuff, okay? Don't overwork yourself, right? Don't do this eat less, move more to the point of detriment, okay? Drink your water. It's unbelievably important in weight loss. You physically cannot lose weight without water. It's impossible for our bodies to do that. Make sure that you're sleeping. Okay? Make sure that you're allowing your body that recovery. You're making big changes. You're asking a lot of your body. It needs time to recover. Okay? And chunk this out. Don't think too big. Don't change too much at once. That's not the sustainable way to approach it. Start with a habit you know you need to change. And once you've conquered that, move on to another habit that you know you need to change. Okay? And if you start implementing these 5 things, eating more and eating well, okay, not working out too much, drinking water, sleeping more, and trying to think a little bit smaller with your habit changes, you really will start seeing these changes in your body. Okay? Be patient with yourself, love yourself. Okay, until next time. Are there any questions? I'm not even sure. How are we doing? Okay, out there in the audience. I intended on this one being a little bit shorter, but I am a blabbermouth, so apologize for that. All right, you know how to reach me. Feel free to send questions along my way. Okay, until next time, eat more, eat well, eat happy. Bye, guys.